Uh, and the core of this is really to make sure that as much real estate is a very valuable asset class. It's one of the most important assets that anyone can hold. And if most people don't have access to it, it makes your entire portfolio look a little bit watered down. So our sole job is to make sure that you have enough exposure into the asset class to be able to build a much more broader and much more diversified portfolio, right? Now, one of the biggest things that people tend to do is when they think of, real estate is land. Land is the simplest, easiest thing to get your hands on, right? But last year, land got a lot of bad PR. Like when you think of land, you think of well, I say conversations from P1 real estate to Sujimoto to God knows how many people. And it got us thinking, like, what would be a fantastic topic to have, especially for the first time land buyers, right? Um, and I always tell my team that imagine if everything is stripped out. If you truly knew that this land was 100% certified, there are no issues, would you still buy that land? And the conversation that we're going to be having now is typically around that. Most of the lands that we have are certified, governor's consent, CFO, all fantastic titles, right? So the conversation now is that after that, what happens? You bought the land, all the documents are complete. Should I still buy that land? That is where the core of the conversation is, right? And we're going to help everyone answer that question today. So before you buy land, what do we miss, right? The first thing is the risk profile. I don't know, for the people that attended the last one, did you guys take a risk profile test? Just checking. You can do thumbs up or hands up if you can. Risk profile. Let me see. Okay. Risk profile. So we still have some people that have not taken the risk profile. Okay, all right. So I'm seeing Blessing. You didn't take the risk profile. Just you don't know your investor profile. You can speak up if you want to. Okay, you haven't taken it, right?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. So we typically want to make sure that as much people actually know the risk profile. Now, we do risk profile for general investments, right? But this one is specific for real estate investments, right? And is something that we created in-house to better understand customers' needs and better serve customers that want to, know where to start from, right? So we built it in-house and allowing it to better understand how to serve our customers better. So that's one. So you need to know your risk profile. So we'll do that for people that have not done it before. We're going to test that out now. The second thing that you need is a land strategy. A lot of people buy land and they have no idea what to do with it. So you buy land for the sake of there is a hype and you just like, okay, good, I bought the land. But because you have no idea why you're buying the land, 1 year, 2 years into the holding that land, you're already panicking, right? And you look to that land and you want to sell it off, right? What we want to do is to make sure that whenever you buy land, you stick to the plan of why you bought that land, or you at least have a plan of what to do with that land. Because what happens is that if you have a plan, you tend to say, okay, this was the reason. You remind yourself, oh, I bought this land for 1 million naira, or I bought this land for 500K. The goal for this land is to do X, Y, and Z. Is this the right time to sell it? Is this the right time to do or to materialize on that goal? That keeps you anchored into, the right frame of mind when holding land, right? The next thing is to match you with the land. So what kind of matching do you need? If you wanted to, now you know your strategy, now you know your risk profile. The best thing is now, okay, how do we match you properly to the land that makes sense for you, right? And this whole strategy can be done. One of the things we are doing in the home circle is that even outside of Keble's property, right, you can essentially use these strategies to actually pick the right land for yourself. So even if Keble is not offering it, you can say, hey, I can use the investor profile and I can use the land strategy and I can match it to one developer asset somewhere else, if not even on the platform, right? And this helps you to be a much more rounded real estate owner. And obviously, next clear steps is like, okay, I'm going to take the next step. Good. Now, why are you considering land? Has anyone bought land here? If you can, just to check. If you bought land before, Okay, there's a poll right now. Okay, fantastic. So there's a poll on the charts. If you check the charts, right? There are a couple of reasons why people buy land, and I just want to test or get a gauge of why someone would buy land at the platform. So click on the poll. Just pick anyone regarding maybe it's long-term wealth, maybe it's income, some of the basic things that people tend to focus on when they are thinking of buying their first land or they're picking a land somewhere in a particular location. One more minute just to make sure that everybody feels it here. Now, why are we trying to do this? Just to know exactly, one, what is the driving force for your interest in owning land? And I'll tell you guys a funny story. So someone in my team will probably mention this, like a couple of years back, I was not even a land person, right? Then I saw one of the, okay, I've seen the poll. I'll probably tell you the story again. Income, okay. So for people that took the poll, let me see that, fantastic. When you were taking the poll, I'm sure you saw income generation, you saw long-term wealth, you saw lifestyle, personal use, you saw I'm still exploring, fantastic, right? And I'm guessing that most people picked long-term wealth. And I think that's what most people think of land. Like, okay, this is a store of wealth, and over time it appreciates, over time it grows in value, and it makes sense, right? There's a land asset. I was involved in the transaction, and that was back in 2024, right? The asset was held for 10 years. So, and funny thing is that we checked the capital appreciation of the assets, the landed assets, and compared it with the growth of, I think we compared it to the growth of the dollar, because that was when dollar was driving really high. And the growth of dollar was around, I think, close to 5,000%. So if you kept dollar under your bed and woke up 10 years after in 2024, the money would have appreciated in terms of naira terms by 4,000%, around that range, right? Just, you didn't do anything, just kept it under your bed and sleep, right? And we're trying to correlate that with the land, and the land did around 3,500%, right? This is land assets. Same time, same correlation. So it was quite interesting that this set of people, obviously, they didn't hold any dollar. They mostly had, landed assets, and we were all considering, okay, what was the point? I think that was a turning point in the land conversation I was having with most people, that, hold up a minute. Land in the right location with the right strategy can actually prove to be very, very lucrative, right? Now, a lot of people actually picked long-term wealth, and that is true, right? But that is a very vague way to look at land. So what we'll be focusing on is what specific play makes sense when you're looking at land. Like, so wealth can be generated anywhere else. You can generate I just told you that if you put dollar under your bed, you will still make the same, if not more, or slightly higher than any other person. So there are several ways to make long-term wealth, right? So when it comes to land strategy, people want to be, we have to be specific. We have to know, okay, these are the things that we use internally to even assess some of the deals. Like, what is the specific nature of this land, and how does it help us to actually make the right decisions, right? So let's look at it one more together. Before we look at the exact same deal, I want us to do one more test, right? The test is focused on risk profile. If you have not taken the risk profile, before now, this is the best time to take it. The reason is I want everybody to be on the same page. There's some people that have advantage, or they already know who they are, so they know the kind of real estate investment they should be making. I'm hoping that everybody can remember their risk profile, right? But I want us to, if you have not taken it before, can the team, someone in the team, can you send the link? How do I take this? Okay, someone should send that, the link. Don't worry, we send it to the chat now. Now, the point of this risk profile is, again, this is something that is inbuilt. We built it internally, right? And it's something that we wanted people to, because Keble is primarily a real estate company, we wanted people to understand, okay, what assets to pick, what locations make sense for them. Should they be looking for cash flow? Should they be looking for capital appreciation? Should they be looking for long-term, holdings or short-term holdings, right? This is a good way of sort of framing that in people's minds, right? So it's best, again, you can use this for any other investments in the world, but this is specifically focused on real estate. So yes, okay, they've posted it. Yeah. It's a very, again, 3 minutes, very easy. If you take the test, whatever result you have, can you just copy and paste it, your results on the chat? Just to show of hands, who have not taken the test? I know Chidi, Barrister Chidi have not taken it. Who else have not taken the test? Okay, Laura, you've taken the test or you've not? You've not taken the test? Okay, you've not. Okay, fantastic. Who else have not taken the test? Who else? I know a lot of people have taken the test, to be fair. Yes, that is the link, blessing. That's the link, yeah. That's the link. So it's very easy, you just ask you a couple of questions. Okay. Dan have taken, okay. Very easy, 3 minutes. Once you get your result, instantly. Just copy and paste it here. It will be very helpful. Trust me, it will be very, very helpful when we're having these conversations, because we're going to, and if you have taken the, okay, fantastic. Oh, what was your result? What was your result, Chibika? Do you remember your results? Growth oriented. Okay, love it. You should fall in this category: core plus, value add, opportunistic. Right. So we only have time to talk about. We had a whole session last time. It's on YouTube, and we broke down this thing in detail. If you also want us to have a one-on-one consultation on that and follow up with a conversation around what your results look like, you can reach out to someone in the team and we'll be able to break that down even more. But as you guys are typing down your core plus, okay, core plus, fantastic. Nice. Now for the new guys, I will just touch on a couple of things here, right? We might not go as deep as we went in the last session, but I wanted everyone to be on the same page. And the reason is, I don't want everyone to have undue advantage over the other. The last people that they know where they are, right? So you're now knowing where you are. If you have if you're a value add investor, the name is very simple, is you're adding value, right? And typically you tend to be at a very high risk profile level, right? So when it comes to real estate, you're the kind of person that would go for refurbishing of assets. So picking an asset, reconstruction of the assets. You're the kind of person that would like to go into, you would like to buy assets off plan, right? If you're opportunistic, you're more or less focused on very high outcomes, very far into the future, right? So you saw people, and the last time I used this example of people that bought Ibejuleki land, 10 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Those people were very opportune, because the only thing that they had was Dangote refinery. That's the only thing they had. If I was speaking to a customer today, she was looking for properties around that axis, and she has not been in Nigeria for over 10 years, and she can still remember Dangote refinery. So it's when people think of that level of what is driving you, how am I so sure that this particular place is going to be, very important to me if I'm going to own it today, right? They're thinking 10 years into the future. They're thinking 20 years into the future. So it's not happening now. If you're in core plus and core, you're more or less focused on something that is already established, right? So think of it like you're buying property that is already earning rental income, right? So you're not even buying property that is empty. You already know that tenants are already in the apartment. It's already generating cash flow. You're not thinking too much. You're not adding any value to it. You're just buying it as it is, right? So core plus and core, their risk profile is slightly lower. They tend to take less risk, right? But if you value add and opportunistic, you tend to be more risk. Will I say? It's not even risk conscious, but you're more risk open to to investing when it comes to real estate assets. And I think we had a whole session around it, but I wanted everybody to be on the same page. Now, I know a lot of people will be around the value add. Okay, we sent the link of the last session. A lot of people will be on the value add side and opportunistic side, right? Let's keep moving. Thank you so much for taking the test. You can retake it every now and then just to make sure that you're, and so even if you took it last time, you can take it again to check if you're still in the same, risk bracket, Now, the biggest mistake, right? We learned from a lot of conversations last year, right? And one of the things that we've seen is the biggest mistake is not even fraud. Right? Fraud is the loudest one people hear. Like, fraud is the loudest mistake people hear, but that is not the biggest mistake. We've seen people buy land and they've held it, but they don't even know what to do with it. There is no fraud in it. Like the land has the right titles, but it has not even matured, it has not grown, it's just there, right? So are you going to tell them that it's fraud? Are you going to tell them that it's a mistake? No. Like they just bought land and all the titles are there. So the vast majority of land being bought, they're not even fraud cases. It's a lack of strategy when it comes to buying the land. And that's what we saw. And we're like, that's interesting. So what's causing this? What's the missing piece? Right? It is buying land without a defined strategy. So what is that strategy? How should we be thinking around it? Right? So we divided into 5 strategies, right? There is the income side, there is the appreciation, there is the joint venture, there is the lifestyle, and there is a strategic hedge, right? And we're going to break down all of these different components during this conversation. We just mentioned 5 strategies. We're going to take a quick test, a quick poll to know which one sounds like you. Which one do you think, feels more natural to you when you hear it? I'm just curious to know how you guys, the level of, there's a new poll there. Okay, the last one here. Which one feels more natural to you, right? Are you leaning more into, let's go back, the income side, right? When you hear income, you think of, cash flow coming in. Appreciation side, so that's capital appreciation. Joint venture, that's you combining, forces with, some technical hands, maybe a developer, a builder to help you add more value to your assets. Lifestyle, is it more of like a recreational thing for you, right? Is it more emotional for you to own something? And strategic hedge, is it more financial? So someone that has a lot of investments everywhere else and they just want something more real, something that last you can walk into the place and see, right? So where do you think you would play more in? So I think we sent the last poll there. You guys can check it out. Whatever you pick, we'll break that down in detail, right? We're launching something a few weeks from now, and it's going to be focused on land, some unique way of owning land. And this was a kind of study that we were doing to decide what kind of land or what kind of strategy makes sense. And how do we enable people to understand those strategies so that they can use it anywhere else, right? You can use it if you're buying land in a different country, you can still use that for yourself. So it's really, really important that you have that. I was speaking to someone yesterday and they were saying they bought a land a couple of years back and they just want to sell it now. And I asked, why do you want to sell it? So that she needs money, right? And I don't think she's held the land for 5 years, right? So it's just a function of, I need money now and I want to sell it, And land, when I tell people to sell land, the big secret about selling land is that if you want to sell land, we're in March 2026, you should have started selling the land in March 2025. That is the secret of selling any assets in Nigeria. Is that if you want to sell it, start a year before, to start selling it. Just zero your mind that, this is going to take a while and just move from there, right? So it's very important to have the right strategies early on before you even pick it, because that's very helpful, So I don't know if everyone have finished filling, just to be clear. Give a thumbs up if you've clicked on the poll. I think everybody's done. Good. Nice. Okay. So I can see, nobody picked lifestyle. People don't like lifestyle. Love it. I can see people, a lot of you guys picked 52% of you guys picked appreciation. So, okay, that's good. 25% of you guys picked joint venture play and income play. So that's good. And the last 8% of you guys picked strategic hedge. Can anyone, I don't know who can be truthful here. If you pick strategic hedge, can you just raise up your hands? I'm very curious or your thought process around that. I know we'll explain everything. But if you pick strategic hedge, is it something do you want to share with the audience, why you picked that? Just curious. Stephanie, did you pick strategic hedge? Stephanie raised her hand.
Hello.
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. Yes, I did, and I picked it because of the brief explanation that you gave. Something about at the end of the day, yes, I need the money, but I want to physically see it. I don't know
Okay.
if I got the explanation right.
Yeah. Okay,
So
that
that
makes
is
sense.
just it.
That's why I picked. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so I'll touch on that a little bit more so that it will also help you as well. So, sir, can you explain? I just picked income play because I just want properties that generate cash flow, and I said, fantastic. Okay, good. I picked strategic hedge because I prefer having a broad-based investment. Okay, good. So all of these strategies are important and they all serve their use cases. They are very important. So we're going to be breaking them down after the other, right? So let's see which one we'll start off with. Okay, so income play, right? So income play, when you're thinking of income play, you're focused on cash flow. You're focused on how can this land give me consistent cash flow, right? And there are a couple of things to look out for. For income play, you're thinking of I'm buying this land now, and within the first 2 years, I'm already sure of getting some likely income. Some people can stretch it out to within the first, or maybe after the first 5 years. Like the goal of this land is to generate income as a land space, right? And the reason for this is obviously land would also appreciate. There every single land at some point they get a boost, especially in Nigeria where there is a deficit of infrastructure work. So as more roads are opening up, the land value of those places tend to open up more. So that's where the value is, right? So for those who are looking for a company, one, you must be active, right? You must be an active person. If you're not the active person, you must have someone that they are opening their eyes on every day to make sure that that land is active, right? The horizon, it has to generate income every single month within the first 5 years, right? So it has to make consistent income. If it doesn't, speak to a consistent income within the first 5 years, you're not making an income play. You're making a capital appreciation play, right? So it has to make some level of cash flow to your account consistently. Not that, okay, this month or this year 2, it will start yielding income. Year 3, you didn't receive anything. No, right? The risk here is medium because obviously there is some immediate gratification coming in, right? And the exit is obviously for resale. The best thing is resale. However, there is possibility that the cash flow you generate would surpass the capital that you used to even buy the land. There are some deals like that, the cash flow, you're already getting so much cash flow that in year 7, you've already collected your capital. So what you're getting is just, profit at the end of the day. Now, where can you find this income place? You see it in agricultural land, right? So there's a huge boom right now with developers and they source for land. My biggest concern there is you want to be sure that whoever that developer is, they have the capacity to actually manage agriculture, because developers, they are good at developing, they are not farmers, right? So let's call it a spade a spade. They are not farmers. I'm not a farmer. The last time I did anything farming was in secondary school or something. So it's like that's been a long time. And most of those developers that are selling it, the last time they entered farm was probably in secondary school as well. So you want a situation whereby if a land is offering some level of cash flow from an agricultural standpoint, you want to be sure that, okay, there is some level of active farm, experts that can provide that service for long term. It's either they've partnered with a farmer, maybe a large farmer, or they have an in-house farm division, right? So that's important. The other aspect that I really like is parking spaces, right? They're very easy, they're very low maintenance. It's just land, park here, pay me 200 naira, something like that. And that's every day. What you're looking out for when you're buying land in specific locations for parking purposes is that you want a situation whereby there's scarcity of land and there is a density of population there. So there's so much population there that there's not enough space to even park cars, and there are so many office spaces there. So the only small land that you have now is now a place where people can park. The best thing you can do is to build up a large space. For people that have been to the airports, there is a whole building just focused on parking in large spaces for it. They can put canopy there. Some people build their own infrastructure, like a hall there. They put, making sure that people can, rent the space on a consistent basis, right? But all of these things are ways in which you have to be generating some cash flow. It doesn't have to start immediately. Some of them do start immediately, and some of them do require additional capital, right, to make it pop up. But you have to be generating some level of cash within the first 5 years, and because it's an income play. Does anyone have questions just on this before I move to the next play? If you can't say it now, you can just type it so that other people can also learn from that. The next thing is appreciation play. Everyone understands this. This is for most long-term holders, right? Here, you're just holding the assets. If you guys are familiar with something called land banking, this is typically the case, is that your goal is to maximize the opportunity of holding the land for the longest time, right? So typically, like, people hold the land. In fact, the horizon is typically longer. I'm bullish on like 10 years kind of holding, 20 years kind of holding, right? Anyone that have held property for that long knows the value of that, like the land. But sometimes when I see deals of land opportunities that have been held for 10, 20 years, you won't believe the returns that they are talking about. I've seen a property that is going for 600 million. They bought it for 15 million. Those kind of deals is unheard of. I've seen property worth 400 million. They bought it for 2.5 million. And most of the time, those deals happen after they've held it for 7 to 10 years, right? And that is where you're maximizing capital appreciation, right? Now, how do you exit? Exit is typically resale. So someone wants to buy the land, they are reselling it. A lot of that is happening around, Sulere, Yaba Axis. A lot of those people selling land for 200 million, 300 million, 400 million. They bought it for 5 million, 2.5 million, at that point in time. So this is the simplest option, when it comes to buying land. Joint venture. Joint venture is very strategic. I don't know does anyone know Boku? The what do you call it? The convenience store, one of the fastest growing convenience stores. Does anyone know that? Just checking. I can't see you are doing thumbs up on that. So Boku has scaled faster than ShopRite in just, I think, 3 to 4 years now, right? They are literally the fastest growing convenience store in Nigeria today. And how are they growing? They are growing through joint venture, right? So you, as the landowner, you provide the land, right? And they pay you a lease. They pay you a 10-year lease, or they pay you a 5-year lease, and they use your land, they build on that structure, and they can renew the lease every 5 to 10 years. It's a combination of income and JV, but the whole focus around it is, you're collaborating with somebody. That's the difference. With the income play, you're not really collaborating as much. For joint ventures, you're just providing land. You're not even doing any other thing. The other person coming in, they're bringing the money, they're building the infrastructure, and you're just collecting profits because you're a landowner. The risk is quite moderate, because most of the time, the person taking the highest risk is the one bringing the money. So if structured well, the risk is actually quite contained. It's mostly project-based, right? So you can see a joint venture can make a ton of money in the first year, you can make a ton of money in the second year. You can hold it for 5 years and it's on the fifth year. Some people have held land for 10 years and it's on the 10th year that they are doing joint venture, right? So it really depends on how you're looking at it, how you're looking at the space, how you're looking at how to hold on to the assets, how you're looking at exits. A typical one, I'll give you a typical structure of a joint venture. There's a deal we're looking at recently. The land is close to 1 billion, right? And the person is constructing 1 billion naira to sell the land. The person just has the land. So what the developer will do is that they'll meet with the landowner, which is yourself, and they'll tell you that, hey, blessing, I like this your land though, right? And obviously it might be difficult for you to sell that land for 1 billion. Like, who is going to give you 1 billion? Right? You're going to stay in the market for a while. However, what's blessing, a developer will meet you and be like, I like this your land, great location. I want to build like 20 units of apartments here, 4 or 5 floors, right? Luxury apartments, putting all the nice fittings. And when I build the 20 units, you can take 7 units. We dash you 7 units. And 7 units maybe can be times 2 of your land value. It could be that price, right? Or it could be maybe 50% above the land value, right? Let's put that moderate. So let's say the land value is 1 billion, right? 7 of those units could be 1.5 billion, right? And you can decide to sell those units, you can decide to rent it out, you can decide to do anything, but you already have exited with a profit share of 7 units that you can do anything with. Those are the ventures that are happening today. Those are the opportunities that are happening right now. And that is how people are scaling their businesses, or they are scaling their investment portfolio, right? So joint venture is very popular. The next thing, lifestyle. So lifestyle is it's like someone said, it's for people that are bellyful. Yes, actually, it's not an investment. It's not a financial decision. You're not owning it to make money. The lifestyle play is very flexible. The goal is not to make any financial return. It's more or less like you want an experience, you want a location. Strategic hedge. Your major focus here is literally, this is for people that maybe are looking for a more diversified portfolio, and they have stocks, they have bonds, they have mutual funds, they have all of these things, and they don't have any real estate allocation. And this is a way for them to allocate properly into real estate. So they buy land, right? The other thing could be for security reasons, right? I tell people that that there are some countries that you, as a Nigerian, you can't buy properties, or you have limitations of you buying properties there. So I was speaking to, we're trying to get a deal in Canada for people to own properties in Canada. And there's some certain restrictions that, someone like myself cannot just come in and buy assets there, right? And we're looking at some deals in Sweden as well. You can't really do that, right? And the whole idea is for national security. So it's strategic. For Nigeria, I don't think Nigeria has any law against anybody can come and buy land. So some people actually find it, they find it as a point of concern that some foreigners are coming and they're buying strategic land assets for them. So they tend to buy it first. So you will see that, okay, if people are opening up Ibejuleki, for example, you'll be surprised that a lot of foreign nationals own some huge parts of Ibejuleki. So you want a situation whereby you also have a say in that particular location. Now, we have options on the platform, that allows people to essentially spread their tentacles and pick and choose which assets works for them, right? We have Woodgate Prime, we have Rockview, we have Ayomide City, and we have Cardiff. Most of these options are they are in Ibadan, right? We also have other options like District and Empire Park that is also on the axis around Lagos. Can you guys still hear me? Just checking.
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right. So I was saying, All of this land offers have unique value propositions, right? I think we have close to 6 opportunities for land ownership. And the most important thing is whoever you're talking to, because we have salespeople and account managers on Keble, and you're trying to understand, why should we pick this land? Is it important? It's always best to ask, okay, this is the strategy I'm looking out for. Does any of this opportunity align with the strategy that I'm looking out for? Because all of these documentations, all of this, if you strip that out, if you said as long as the land, the right titles are there, what else? What is next? So I know a lot of people, they'll buy the property. The position is that I just bought the property and they have no clue. They have zero idea what to do with that property. I think it's always important at the beginning, because that's where it's beneficial. At the beginning, why am I buying this property? What's so unique about it for me? The second thing is, one of the key value propositions when you buy property on the Keble platform is reselling is always an issue for most people, right? So I bought the property now, but how do I resell? There are tons of people that have bought, land scattered all over the country. They don't know where it is, one, they don't know how to manage it, and they don't know how to sell it, right? I think one of the benefits of buying assets on the Keble platform is, one, you can actually track it on the Keble app. Two is that the benefit of you reselling it, is there, because all you have to do is literally give us the authorization to resell it for you at a designated price, and we're obligated to do that without any issue. Most developers, where you buy property with them, it's always an issue of, okay, you've bought this land, I bought it 5 years ago, but that developer is focused on the property he's doing now. So he's even telling you that you should go and go and find your own buyer, or go and find someone that will sell it for you, right? On the Keble platform, because we know that most of you guys are buying property for the first time or second time or third time, right? It's always unique to have a seamless experience when you're buying and when you're exiting, right? Because that's where the value comes in. So yes, all of these options are available, whether you're thinking of buying it outright or whether you're thinking of paying monthly. Those options exist for you, right? And you can decide how you want to do, why you're picking the property. Most of them are more or less like capital appreciation play, right? So you're buying the assets. I think for Cardiff, you can do a good JV on it, right? If you're trying to do JV opportunities, you can do that. You can partner with the developer and they can finance everything for you, and you can take a cut of the building that is being constructed. But most of them, I think Woodgate, Rockview, Yomide, they're all focused on capital appreciation side. And Cardiff is more or less like there's capital appreciation side, there's the JV side, there's some income generation side as well. And all of them, you can decide to make payments on a monthly basis. So if you're thinking of how do I start, you can start today to make those incremental payments as you go along. Now, which one fits you? It really based on, I think we've touched on almost every single strategy. And these are, again, the 5 strategies that we use internally to assess which properties are the right fit for us to even showcase on the platform, right? It's also something that you can use to assess certain deals that make sense. And you can decide on how to match it properly, right? Now, strategies. For Ayomide, you can decide that, okay, this is an acquisition play and also open for JV opportunities as well. So remember, if you're doing for acquisition play and JV, the best time horizon is 7 to 10 years, right? So that's the time horizon. Woodgate, strategic hedge, and JV, right? Rockview, acquisition play, and JV. Cardiff has a lot of elements to it, so people can decide to take it as a lifestyle play, because of the polo element, the sports elements, the way it's being branded to the public. There's an appreciation play, of course. I think on average, Ayomide, Woodgate, and Rockview, as of last year, all of them appreciated by at least 30, 35%. So if you're averaging it out for the next 5 years, you can essentially like, map out a good minimum of 25 to 30% every single year on capital appreciation from the land. So that's a good way to look at it. If you're thinking of reselling, Keble can essentially facilitate that for you, and push it out to the next possible buyer that is interested in buying from you. Now, we have a limited offer for 20 plots, and it's only focused on individuals that are willing to buy, and participated in this home circle, right? So if you're interested in buying a plot, and you want to start today, I think the minimum you can start with is 30,000 or 27,000. I can't remember one of the options there. But you can spread that payment for as long as you want, right? There is a 5% incentive as long as you participated in this home circle. We're going to be doing a lot of freebies in almost every single home circle, but this is our first ever one. But this is the second one actually that has a freebie. It's a special offer for every person that participated in this home circle. So if you're interested, I think there is a link to fill in your name, the property that you're interested in, and someone will reach out to you from the team to make sure that we understand you a little bit better and align your goals to the right land that you're looking out for. And with all being said, it's very easy to fill the form, choose the property, pick the plot size, and you can invest directly from there. If you have any questions, this is the right time to ask the question. I think we're done with the 1 hour mark, so everything now is just focused on Q&A. And thank you so much for taking your time to listen to me, even though the network was a bit shaky. But I'm happy that you guys still stuck it out and listened to the end. Thank you so much. Martha.
Thank you so much, Mr. Maria, for that insightful session. Thank you so much. I'm sure many of us have learned a lot from that. And now we'll move on to questions. We received a number of questions in the chat. And I also have a couple of people raising up their hands. So let me read one of the questions. So someone said, under co-ownership under Keble, do co-owners own the property for life?
Okay, yeah. So under the co-ownership offering, I think right now we have a couple of them. The whole idea is for you to own it for life. You can decide to resell on your own end, and that's on you, right? And Keble would only introduce any exit opportunity from year 5. But the whole idea is that imagine if you own property that pays you every single year until you can even pass it down to your next of kin, right? So that's the general idea of co-ownership. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Someone said, okay, Joshua said, how can students like me with low income leverage the little I have into building generational wealth?
Hello, Martha. I don't think I heard the last question.
Okay, I said Joshua said, how can students like me with low income leverage the little I have into building generational wealth?
Yeah, so I think the best thing is to start with where you are. On the Keble platform, there are investments on the platform that are fixed income. So essentially the fixed income side is the direct investment side, where you essentially pick a property that is under construction and you finance that property, right? So you buy some units in that property, and at the end of the holding period, the property is sold and you get some profits paid to you. We have, I think the lowest on the platform is like 5,000 naira. So you can actually pick, some of the deals there and kick it off and start experiencing, what you call it, start experiencing how real estate works, start experiencing how to benefit from real estate sales and real estate growth, with as little as 5,000 there. So that those opportunities do exist, on the Keble app, so yeah.
All right. So Blessing David says, is the agriculture the same as land bank?
Hello, I missed out on that. What did you say?
Blessing David said, is agriculture the same as land bank?
Is agriculture the same as land banking? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Um, no, because the way you should look at land banking is, again, you should think of the goal you're trying to achieve, right? So if the goal you're trying to achieve is income, right? That is why most people that are offering agricultural land, they will tell you that instead of leaving your land like that, your land can be paying you every single year from the harvest, you know. So the goal is slightly different. However, you're doing agricultural land, you're getting both sides. You're eating your cake and having it. So you have income and you also have the capital appreciation. I would, however, mention that you shouldn't go, how will I put it, on a risk side when you're thinking of your risk profile. You should always think that, yeah, sometimes agriculture can have its seasons, right? Sometimes crops can go bad, just it's part of the, the agricultural phase. But the underlying asset is the land, right? So I think you should just have it at the back of your mind that, okay, this property from agricultural purpose, it will yield when harvest is good, good for me, right? If harvest is bad, that's part of the job. But your land is still there, it's stable and it still works there. So you're getting a bit of both worlds there. On the capital appreciation side, it's just, I'm just owning land and I'm owning it. And when I'm ready to sell or when the value becomes more favorable for me, I can essentially, sell it out to the next person. So there are two different things, just plainly because of the goals attached to both sides. Does that help? Awesome, awesome. Nata, you're muted in case you're.
Okay, so Stephanie Raphael has her hands up. Stephanie, can you please unmute and ask your question?
Oh, Steph.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear
Hello.
me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, please. Although I've been making this request for quite a while on the
Yeah.
group, when are we going to have another property for agriculture like that of the Pan Group?
Yeah. So yes, we've seen deals like that. Um, we just haven't found the right fit yet, or someone that have checked the marks that we're looking out for. Like I said, it's it's a bit tricky when someone says, okay, there is this land here and we're going to monetize it in agricultural side. I want to be confident, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. I want to be confident that they have the capacity to deliver consistently on that promise from an agricultural standpoint. So if we can't see that, we're not going to list it on the platform, right? So have I seen deals like that? Yes. I think it's just on the confidence side that, okay, we've not been confident enough to say, okay, this person has the capacity to actually provide the consistent cash flow, or they have the right expertise to sort of push this to the next level. Once we do see that, definitely we'll list it up on the platform. It's not a problem. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, Martha.
Okay, someone said, what is the difference between fractional ownership and outright?
Outright is a form of payment, right? And fractional ownership is a form of ownership. You can do, for example, in co-ownership, you have the ability to make an outright purchase of a slot or a portion of the apartment, right? Or you have the ability to make a monthly payment for that apartment, right? So outright is more or less focused on the format of payments, and fractional ownership is more or less focused on the format of ownership. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Someone said, I checked the platform. Almost all investments are closed. Why? Thank you.
We're doing a good job now. You don't want us to do a good job. Before the investments are closed, we're doing a good job. I don't see that as a problem. But yeah, I mean, Yeah, that's the best way I look at it. Are there deals on the table? Yes, but we're just reviewing it, to be honest, and we're taking our time. But the fact that there are deals closed means that we are doing a good job. Yeah. Martha.
Okay, someone said, can I know what JV is available for Woodgate, or would you prefer a DM?
Oh yeah, okay, okay, Joy. Yeah, okay, that's a conversation we can have. Right now, I don't think there is a current availability for JV on Woodgate side, but that's an interesting proposition. We can actually have a conversation to stretch to touch base on that. So, yeah, it's something we can look into.
Okay, Chidi said, what assurances can be given to investors that millions invested in Keble are well secured, despite the fact that it is mentioned that those properties have registered documents, and also the fact that the government may decide to use that land path tomorrow?
Yeah, so a couple of things that we spend time doing when picking land. Before we do, for example, there's a project on the platform called Phoenix, and there's another one called Freedom Way, right? It took us 6 months to list that project. And here are the things that we looked into. We had to visit the location. We had to verify the legal ownership of that land. We had to consult with even third parties to know if, from a planning standpoint, is there any encroachment on that particular land. We had to make sure that also for the land, there is no, someone has not used the land to take loan, so it's possible that someone have just said, this Bella I'm not using again. I want to use it and take loan from somewhere else. And maybe the person can default on that loan and the bank will come and collect the land. So we do spend a huge ton of time just making sure that, some of the most of the titles, the land, the location are in good standing. Hence why we do not rush into adding new deals at this point. We just want to make sure that the ones that are ready, we have are perfect and they are good to go for the customers. So we spend a lot of time. It's not something that we take lightly. And the reason is that most of people buying the properties, literally, this is their first land. And from their first land, they'll buy their first home, and their first home, they'll get their mortgage. So like the way we are thinking around it is when it comes to you building your own home or the cycle of your own investment portfolio, Keble is at each point of your life. So if we mess up the first part, you probably have messed up every other thing. So that's basically what we spend time doing. I don't know if that helps to answer your question. Chidi. Oh, good.
Okay. Joshua says, I feel most housing properties tend to do more of income play than landed properties. How can we achieve the same cash flow like one of those housing properties from landed properties?
Can you ask the question again? I think I missed that.
Okay. I feel most housing properties tend to do more of income play than landed properties. How can we achieve the same cash flow like one of the housing properties from landed properties?
Yeah. So, to be frank, it's slightly different, So, if you're buying an apartment, right, there are two ways you can make money from it. Obviously, there is normal rental apartment and there is the shortlet model that people have. Normal rental apartments is also an income play. Some people don't like their properties being used by different people every single night. So they just put it out for rent and they just take the L and take the money. It's more stable. You take the 7 million, 8 million, or 5 million in a year and go and sleep, right? While some people are more interested in saying, okay, I want to rent it out every single week for people, and that's a cash flow format for them. For land, it's a new thing that is being explored. That's for sure, right? Um, and it's being explored at scale for the first time. This is not the first time we have parking spaces that we pay for, but this is the first time institutional guys are looking forward to having land and using that as a model for an investment purpose, right? So it's even with agriculture, this is the first time it's happening at scale. It's not that people don't do agriculture before, but this is the first time people are looking at it and saying, okay, we're tinkering with the idea and we're trying to do it at scale. So they do have different formats. What I would say is that it's best to don't compare apples to oranges, right? So if you're doing a land and you're focused on the income side of land, do not compare it with, doing, a house and getting income from house, right? The best way to look at it is, if I'm doing land, right, what is the best outcome for me on a continuous basis if it's an income flowing asset, and how much investment do I have to make, right? So most people, if they buy land of 1 million naira, and that land is generating 70, 80,000 naira every single, let's say in a year, it's generating like 100K every single year. That's 10% of 1 million naira. Do I have to do any additional thing to maintain that 100K? Do I have to do any additional thing to grow that 100K? Right. So I think with each model, you have to be quite careful, or quite deliberate, so to speak, to know how to maximize it, right? So as much as possible, like each one is unique, but like don't try and compare land, agriculture, and shortlets. They're slightly quite different. They operate far different from each other, and they all have different risk profiles that you want to assess individually. So yes. Hope that helps. Martha?
Okay, Stephanie says, when are earnings going to officially start at Ibutowura for own?
Awesome. So I think we should be done with full payments by ending of we're in Q1 now. So full payments in Q2. Handovers will be done by the end of Q2 as well. And we should be open for business by Q3 when it comes to rental income. So that's everything is in schedule. The phase one is fully done. Right now, they're just painting and putting everything in order. The lights are the electricity has been sorted, and they're already building off phase two. So we came in early, so that's really good. And we are on schedule to making sure that Ibudura gets to the limelight as much as possible. So I think by Q2 we should have like good reports on that, so people can start earning from there.
All right, thank you. Do we have any more questions? If you'd like to ask a question, please just raise your hand. Okay, Chidi said, are there avenues to transfer ownership of homes while the owner is still alive to NOK, or is it possible for ownership to be transferred to someone else apart from the NOK?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The short answer is actually yes, it's possible. It's quite easy as well.
Okay, and Oluwabukobi Lawal says, is it possible to have a portfolio with diverse strategy?
Yes. On Keble, I have as many options. Just personally, I have as many options as possible, and they all serve different purposes. So you can have a more diversified portfolio even in real estate, and I think that's the interesting thing with Keble, is that you can have a fixed income offer, you can also have a land offer, you can have a cash flow offer, you can have a capital appreciation offer. You can play around with all the strategies in one single portfolio, right? And it's not concentrated in a particular location, so you can spread your tentacles really well. So I think that's very beneficial. So yes, you can build a more diverse portfolio on the platform.
Okay, for Emmanuel's question, I think this is the last question. He said, under co-ownership under Keble, do co-owners own the property for life?
Yes, I think I mentioned that. Yes, as long as you're willing to hold the property. Yes.
All right. So we've come to the end of this home circle. We've come to the end of this session. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We truly appreciate you taking the time to be a part of this conversation. And we hope today's session has given you the right insight and the information to make smarter decisions before buying land. If you'd like to stay connected and learn more, please feel free to follow us on all social media platforms. And yeah, now that you have the right information, we encourage you to reach out to the Keble team so we can guide you through our different land investments. And yes, also remember the 5% offer we currently have, especially for people that attended this session. And if you'd also like to revisit today's session or share it to someone to benefit from it, the recording will be available on YouTube, so you can watch at any time. Once again, thank you so much for joining today's home circle.
Thank you, everyone.
We hope you have a wonderful evening. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Take care, everyone.